right, this is the Committee of the Whole. This is Thursday, March 2nd, 2017. We're at 6:15 p.m. I have Councilor Capone. I have Councilor Della Sola.
Here.
I have Councilor Del Rio. I have Councilor DePiero.
Here.
I have Councilor Hanlon.
Did he call me?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, here.
I have Councilor Matusky.
Here.
I have Councilor McLaughlin.
Here.
I have Councilor Napolitano.
Here.
And I have Councilor Simonelli. 9 members present. We do have a quorum.
Okay, we saluted the flag at our last meeting, so please read item number 1, Mr.
All
Clerk.
right, item number 1, this order, offered by Councilor Anthony DePiero as president, to transfer $1.3 million from budgetary fund balance into the school department account.
Councilor McLaughlin.
Can we make a motion to invite up Mr. Forrester and the school administration for
Second
a
motion.
short presentation?
Second motion.
Motion made and seconded to invite school department representatives as well as anyone from the administration that may like to come up. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it.
The situation is that they changed the formula for funding education, Chapter 70, and really kind of blindsided most of the state. And so as it began to roll out last year, we realized that places like Everett, there were about 15 communities that really got hurt. And in our case, we lost about $5 million. And what happened is they changed the way that they would classify the youngsters in poverty and in economically disadvantaged. So when they did the formula, a city like Everett, we lost 2,000 kids. I mean, they're still here, but they were poor in June, and in July, they weren't. So then when I went to the State House, Senator DiDomenico had set up a meeting with the finance people from the governor's office. I went through the finances with them. They realized, yeah, we made a mistake, but it was too late to correct. They couldn't correct it. And so I asked the guy, the gentleman, you know, what would you do? How will we offset this? He said, well, someone has to get hurt. The formula changed, someone has to get hurt, and you have one of the communities to get hurt. So the state legislature realized it also. They did then make attempts to offset it by appropriating money for us, which then the governor cut later on as the year went on because the state started to face a deficit. So that's when we came to the mayor. And obviously, we laid off 96 people, did not come back to work. So that's in the fall, that's when we met with the mayor and told him the situation we were facing. And unless we could get some kind of aid or help, we can't staff the schools. And so then he said he would help us. The auditor met with us, and they needed to see where the city's finances were. When it was appropriate, they said, ask for the money. And anyway, they were able to get the money, free cash, whatever got certified. And that's why we're here. So this $1.3 million, we want to couple that with the $1.8 million we get in Medicaid reimbursement in the June. And between those two big offsets and then the people that are not still working, that's how we're going to meet this deficit. So again, it's a situation that's been faced by about 15 communities in the Commonwealth. It's a system that it's backwards in that the wealthy communities got more money, and the poorest 15 communities in the Commonwealth lost money. And again, the legislature realizes it now, the Department of Education realizes it. They're trying to come up with a formula to change it. It has not been, they have not come up with that formula yet. So as we come before you for the fiscal 18 budget, we're gonna have to come with their numbers, but we're hoping that they will be able to make some adjustments for us. And then in the communities that we're talking about that did not get the funding that they needed, most of the communities, their community government raised their money for them. And that's what we're here for, to try and get this 1.3 million to put with the monies that we do have so that we can keep people working. Our schools are understaffed. You were with us at the English school yesterday, Mr. Hanlon, and we have classes down there with 28, 30 youngsters in a class. And this is, we're seeing it across the system. The other thing that's hurting a community like Everett and the other 15 communities we're talking about, we have burdens put on us that you don't get in Wellesley. Wellesley's money's increased and ours went down. We need interpreters to talk, be able to communicate with the students and their parents. We have to hire English language learner teachers, which is a whole department in itself. So you're adding millions of dollars to your budget because of your demographics. And they're not seeing it. I shouldn't say that. They do see it now. Now it's a question of how they're gonna correct it. But that's why we're in the situation we are today.
Thank you, Mr. Forrester. Do you have anything to add, Mr. Obremski, or can I add?
The only thing I'd like to add to that is on the recent immigrants to the country, whether you're undocumented or here correctly, unless you're on a state-assisted program, that's why they're not counting them in the free and reduced lunch count. Even though our free and reduced lunch count, where we're serving the meals every day, may be up by 2,000 kids, the money we're getting is not from the state and the Chapter 70 money. So just so you realize, those kids still are getting free lunch if they qualify for free lunch, but we won't get the state-assisted money for those students. And those state-assisted programs, some of them are Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, it's commonly known as SNAP. TANF, Temporary Assistance for Needy Families, it's known as TANF. Some forms of Medicaid, some forms of Mass Health, and Children's Health Insurance Program, which is called CHIP. And for each one of those economically disadvantaged children, the state gives you, besides the regular, which is a little over $11,000 we get per student in this formula, they give you an extra $3,100 to $4,200, depending on whether how poor you are, and also if you're an English language learner student. They give you extra money because they know it costs more to service those type of students. And the other thing that Mr. Forrester didn't mention that we're having where we need more funding is the mental health services that we're providing in our schools, especially for our younger children, has increased drastically. So we had to increase the number of counselors that we have in our schools also.
Thank you, Mr. Obremski. Councilor McLaughlin.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to thank the audience that's here tonight. To see the leadership of our community here tonight all joined together in this effort is truly remarkable. To see that everybody's pushing in the same direction from the State House to the Senator and the representative to the Mayor. It's truly a team effort, so I would like to thank them in the audience this evening. But Mr. Forrester, I have just one brief question. The numbers that you just gave to us, we're still at about $1.2 million short at the end of the school year from the $5.4 million. How many jobs will that still decrease from our school system, roughly? If the 96 that weren't called back, how many of those do you think?
About 46 people that we haven't brought back.
So there'll be about 46 people not brought back across the district. Have we talked about being able to try to find some of that 1.2 million to be able to bring some of those 46 positions back at a later date?
We're hoping now that we'll address that come July 1st. We're trying to close out this year. Those people that you're mentioning there we hope that we'll get the increased funding to be able to bring them back next year.
Because this number is based on the governor's budget, right? Not the Senate budget, correct?
That's correct.
So there should hopefully be some sort of a gap increase on the Senate side versus the governor's side if there's a supplemental budget put into place at some point in the future.
You know, from the little bit that I know with the legislature, they see it and they get it more so than the governor's finance people.
Yep.
So, like I told you, the House of Representatives and the Senate last year, for this fiscal year we're in, they did appropriate money, but then lost it because
Right.
they cut it under
The earmarks got cut.
Yeah, just so you know, the earmark that we received, thanks to Senator DiDomenico, was $250,000. So even if we got some of that earmark back, it's not gonna, I mean, at this point, the salaries are less because there's less time left in the year, but it wouldn't be able to bring 40 people back.
You see the other things you get hit with. The senator and his colleagues at the State House were always able to make the case that Everett was a little bit different than most communities. Our population was growing faster than any other community in the Commonwealth. So they would appropriate, besides what they would, give us an extra $1 million.
Sure.
We lost that.
Yeah, in fiscal 16, what Mr. Forrester just said, Senator DiDomenico, in what's called the Foundation Reserve, or commonly known as the pothole account, fiscal 16, we had an extra $1 million that we used all for salaries. In fiscal 17, it was left out of the governor's budget totally. It wasn't even in the budget.
Okay. Well, I think we're all committed to trying to do all we can to close this gap as close to even as we can to bring all the positions back. For all that the school department does, to have 96 less positions is tremendous, that we're still keeping at a state record in programs that we have to offer our children is remarkable. Right. Thank you, guys.
And just so the common council members know here, in the last 10, 11 years, I mean, I'm sure most of you know this, our school population has increased by about 2,250 students in the last 10, 11 years.
Councilor Capone.
Thank you, Mr. President. Through you two, I guess. Thank you, gentlemen, for being here and explaining that. I'm glad we'll do what we can to try to help you take care of what you need to do this year. I'm concerned about next year. I know that you said the legislative branch gets it, and the governor's office gets it, but maybe they're a little more reluctant to do anything about it. In whatever kind of correspondence you've had with them, have they given you any indication that they're going to try to change that formula or do anything? It was
Position?
sad to hear someone's gonna take the short end. I don't know why it's gonna be us.
Yeah, that's
But,
right. And
you know,
we're on the short end of it. And again, it's not only us, Revere, Chelsea, Lynn, Brockton, communities like that are on the short end of it. And again, they do realize that there's a mistake has been made. But they haven't been able to correct the formula for this fiscal year we're going into, fiscal 18. So, but they will, right now it looks like the state legislature is trying to help.
Okay.
Whether the governor's office and his finance people get it will be another question.
Okay, all right, thank you. Any other questions?
Councilor Hanlon.
That's all.
That's it, that's all. One.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think he reads my notes sometime, because that first part of my question was what he indicated. If we pass this $1.3 million, this will suffice you for the year, okay? And next year's budget will have that included already, so we don't have to worry about that again?
Well, what'll happen is we create our budget and we meet with the mayor and with the auditor is to see if they can increase it beyond the net school spending. Like the state tells the city, you must contribute X to the schools. Well, what we're hoping is that we can work something out with the mayor and the auditor and with you people that will increase that number. Like, for example, this year here in Chelsea, everyone ran into this problem, like I say, of those communities. Chelsea appropriated the money right up front. So going into September, they had their budget whole.
Okay. Well, I would expect that to happen, what you're saying and everything. My real question is that if we do that, and we have the budget is funded properly, and the state suddenly says, we know how to fix the formula, and this is what they're gonna do, will they reimburse us for what we have put in extra because of the decrease they put in the formula?
No, what would happen is if they appropriated the money, and then now we're above the net school spending number, what we could then just do is contribute through the year, at the end of the year, return money to the city treasurer.
So that's what I'm, would the state actually say, okay, I mean, if you guys did your budget, forget about it, we're not gonna do it until next year. But if they did come up with a new formula, would they do it in time to do exactly what you said?
They will not be able to do it for a budget that'll come before you. Now, whether they're able to do something as the year goes on through a supplemental appropriation, that remains to be seen. But we will not have anything when we come before you in April, it'll be what they give us now.
Yeah, I was thinking that also, but I was, like you just said, supplemental budgets that come along.
Right.
And they will give us whatever money that we think we lost, they will give us that money back?
They would give us the supplemental appropriation, yes.
Okay.
So then we would be above net school spending.
Got that.
And then it would be a discussion of what do we do with that money above net
Good.
school spending.
Thank you.
Counselor Napolitano.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Good evening.
Evening.
A couple of things. I'm just kind of curious about I understand the class sizes was the one way that's been impacted by the shortage. Did any other services take a hit?
Every area took some sort of hit. Clerical, we're down a couple of clerical positions. Custodians, we're down a few custodians. Administrative positions, we're down a couple of directors. It's all paraprofessionals, teacher aides, commonly known as teacher aides. Every area took a hit.
Right across the board?
Yeah.
Okay.
Obviously, teachers would take a larger hit because there are more of them.
Well, I mean, I think that's a credit to how you manage this by trying to at least know one area was taking a major hit. Though it sounds like all areas have taken a hit.
Every department was reduced by the same percentage, except in the teaching force, which is,
Ends up
700
more.
teachers, and so that was the largest cut.
Mm-hmm.
The percentage was actually less, but the fact is, that's where most of the money was, because it's the biggest part.
And I'm just kind of curious, why has there been an increase in mental health on the younger ages? I'm just kind of curious as to what might be causing that.
As the demographics of the cities change,
Their adjustment?
oh yeah,
To the
and,
community?
our demographics obviously is changing, and people are coming to us poorer than ever. And, they're in need also, but that is what's driving it. Believe me, that is driving it.
All right. Well, I believe most of us, you've got our full support. I mean, there's no question of the quality of the education that our kids get. And of course, our main concern is how that's being impacted. So, all right, I was just curious about that. Thank you.
And I just want to say with your comment that, from my perspective, being around as long as I have been, to have your state delegation here, the mayor here, yourselves, it's just nice to see that kind of support. We are the biggest department in the city. We probably have the largest responsibility. And if we don't keep these 7,300 youngsters that we have and growing, moving forward, the city's going to have a problem. And I'll tell you, everybody's on board, and knock on wood, things are moving well for us.
Well, I know our first priority is our own community, but
Yeah.
the demographics that you identified that's being affected by this creates a major issue for the entire area.
Yeah,
I
absolutely
mean,
it does.
both in
Absolutely.
dropout statistics.
Listen, the day that this community loses their young people, or they have a feeling of no future, you're not going to be able to walk down Broadway.
Right.
Because what's the difference if I go to jail or I sit on this curbstone, right? That's what happens. When you see a city deteriorate, it deteriorates from the schools first. And when people disrespect the schools, don't take care of the young people, they have no reason to do the right thing. It's my business, and I see it all over the country, and I read about it and meet with people, and that's what's happened in some of these communities that we hear about. The young people feel disenfranchised, and so they don't care. I need $5, I'm gonna hit you over the head and take your wallet. You're gonna put me in jail? So what? I'm not going anymore. That's the one thing that we can be proud of. Doesn't happen here. You can walk down Broadway.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Counselor Handler?
Nobody else? Just a quick question. Us and 14 other communities you say are in this particular boat, and you probably have, I just want to know, have you gotten together with these
Oh, yes.
communities?
Oh,
And
yeah,
said,
yeah.
let's go in and charge and all that kind of thing?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the end of the question.
We have, and that's again why our state delegation is here, our senator and our representative, because they've been on board with us all along, as well as their colleagues. And that's where we've made our case to the state and to the Department of Ed. They see it. Now it's a question of how fast can they correct it.
Thank you. Thank you. All set?
If there are no other questions, is
Move
there a
they be
motion
excused
to
the customary
excuse our
thanks,
guests?
Mr. Chairman.
Motion made and seconded to excuse our guests. All those in favor? Opposed? You are excused.
Favorable action, Mr. Chairman.
Second.
Motion made and seconded for favorable action on the order. Mr. Clerk, please call the roll.
All right, Counselor Capone.
Yes.
Counselor Del Sola.
Yes.
Counselor DePiero. Counselor DePiero.
Yes.
Yes.
Counselor Hanlon. Counselor Matusky.
Yes.
Counselor McLaughlin.
Yes.
And Counselor Napolitano.
Yes.
And Counselor Simonelli.
No.
9 yeas, 0 nays. Oh, did he say no? Oh, I misunderstood.
Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Vote was 8-1. Motion made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor? Aye. Meeting adjourned.